Well, today we're going to go on with lesson 16 on Stonehenge. I'm going to show you a picture. You can see it. You see, there's my grandson Izzy, and he's building his own Stonehenge out of Rice Krispie bars. And that's what we're going to do. You see, Stonehenge seems kind of spooky because it's a very mysterious thing that they built, thousands of years ago. And they don't know why they built it, and they don't know how they built it, and they don't know really who built it. So then it becomes like, is this something, spooky, and they relate it to all kinds of fairy tales and things like that. But I find with God that he turns everything around and makes it beautiful. So he can take a thing that looks kind of mysterious and make it into Rice Krispie bars. I think that is pretty funny. Because nothing is spooky with the Lord. Sometimes you get spooked out about certain things, but nothing is. Because you can tie ribbons around Stonehenge and make it into a carnival maze and have happy picnics there. So anyway, let's find out about Stonehenge, okay? Let's look at your book and you'll see some pictures of Stonehenge. Now, this is probably one of the most recognizable ancient structures in the world. Everyone knows about Stonehenge, so you need to know about it too. And where is Stonehenge? It's in England. And if you look on your globe, you can find England, a little island out on the coast, on the west coast of Europe there. And England, where was Stonehenge in England? It was about 87 miles west from London in the Salisbury Plain. So you can look that up. I think that's one of your questions. And what do we know about it? Let's find out what we know about it. And if we find out what we know about it, then we maybe can have theories about who built it and why they built it. But so far, they're just theories. Maybe we'll never know, really. So what do we know? First of all, archaeologists have found that they built a circular ditch. And it would take many, many years, maybe 100 years to build this ditch. And this ditch was as big as a football field, and only tools that they could see that they used to build this ditch, they didn't have shovels, were antlers. How long would it take you to build a ditch that big to hold those big, huge pillars up? It'd take a long time if you only had antlers, but maybe you had a lot of people doing it. Could be. And they piled up these mounds outside of the ditches. There were mounds on these ditches. Well, there was a guy named John Aubrey, and he was in 1626 to 1697. And he was out on hunting with his friends when in 1648, suddenly they came upon Stonehenge. And so he saw these pits, and later on, when they were digging up some of these pits, they called them Aubrey holes or Aubrey mounds after him. And these pits, a lot of them held big pillars that were made from bluestone. And they found like 56 of these pits. They thought, well, maybe they were graves because they did find some people that were bones and stuff there that were probably, buried there. But so that's what made them think maybe this was some kind of a memorial, kind of like the pyramids of Egypt. But they don't know. So let's talk about the design. So look on your book. They made a circular form, and the outer circle was made of sandstone. Well, they don't call this sandstone, they call it sarsen. So think sarsen is sandstone. That was the outer circle. The inner circle was like a horseshoe of sarsen too. As you see the horseshoes there. That was the second inner circle. And then the next inner circle were little smaller stones called bluestone, made of blue stones. And the very inner circle was an oval, kind of oval shape of blue stones. Many stones are missing because they think people through history thought, man, these would be used for building, so they took them even to modern times. They probably, in the 1800s, I don't know, but throughout history they took them, some of the stones away, probably to use them in building their own homes, who knows, or building other building projects. Well, the outer ring of the sarsen stone is 108 feet diameter, and the stones weigh about 25 tons. You can look up how many pounds are in 25 tons. Ask Alexa. And so then, as you see the map, they had to bring these sarsen stones, sandstones, from Marlborough Downs, which is about 20 miles away. Those are huge stones. How did they get them there? What did they put it on a big wagon with wheels, or did they drag them there, or did they have a whole bunch of tons of people, hundreds of people carrying them, or how did they get them there 20 miles away? We don't know. That's the thing. We don't know. Then they found these smoothed hammerstones. Hammerstones, you think of smoothing them out. They use them to smooth out the rocks. Hammerstones. They found many of these, and many of them were sarsen stones, and some were flint. And so that's what they must have used to smooth them out. And then some of these stones were upright posts, and above the upright posts, there'd be the two posts, there would be a top post like this. And the top post there would be called a lintel. It'd be the horizontal one, like the top of a door, if I went like this. Lintels. So you see them, those lintels, those horizontal. And most of these are missing now. Were these supposed to be doors, or what were they for? And they also, how did they fit the stones together and hold them together? They used a method that you used in woodworking, and they had these little pieces, tenons that stuck up, and then they somehow drilled holes in the bottom so they would fit. Tongue and groove, they called it. Kind of like Legos, when you build Legos. That's how they put these together, like giant Legos. Can you believe that? So, we're going to talk about the horseshoe. The horseshoes were the trilithons. Tri means three. And the outer circle had 5 pairs of these trilithons made of 3 big stones. And 3 of them are still standing. They had 5 of them because they can find out where the others were standing. The blue stones in the circle were much smaller, and each weighed 2.5 tons. 2.5 tons is still a lot, but we think it's kind of small when we think the others were 25 tons. They're a lot smaller. And they brought these from Paisley Hills in Wales. Now, look in your map on page 140. What do you see? You'll see your map on page 106 I have down. But the map there. Look at that map in your chapter, and you'll see that they had to move these blue stones 140 miles away. That's a long, long ways to walk. It would take them a long time to move one of those stones. Can you imagine 140 miles? We're like 100 miles away from, I live in Colfax, and we're 100 miles away from San Francisco. Taking 80, it takes it should take about 2.5 hours or so, but it takes a lot longer than that. But you can imagine it, walking and carrying those stones. That would be quite a feat. And many of these stones are missing there, so we knew, and they have some of them were stumps there, but they had a lot of these blue stones. And then they found the roadbed where they traveled there. They called it the avenue. And on the avenue, at the one end, was called the heel stone, which was not 25 tons. That's quite a bit. It was 32 tons. And it wasn't the biggest of the stones. And it was not hammered down. It was like in its natural state. And then in 2008, they discovered another hinge circle of stones at the end of the avenue, which was a lot smaller but they had another circle. Were they trying to make circles to contact somebody from the skies? Or what were they trying to do with these circles? What did they mean to them? We don't know. We do know that the construction had to take many, many years and with many, many people, don't we? Well, some ideas through history and the ideas have changed. In the beginning, they thought this was some kind of astronomical observatory where they were looking, up to the skies, maybe astrology type or astronomy, maybe. Maybe they actually were looking and trying to line up the stars, which they thought, well, it kind of does, but it kind of doesn't. And then they thought, well, maybe it was a sundial to tell time. Well, it could be, but that doesn't work so well either. If the sun comes in this area and this area, they try to figure out how to make it into a sundial, but it doesn't always work because we have a lot of circles. And so maybe it was for pagan worship. And they used to think that it was for the Druids, but the Druids really didn't live until, hundreds of years after it was built. So it couldn't be that, although it still could be some kind of pagan worship that we don't know about. And then some thought it was a burial ground because they found some graves there. They thought could be like a pyramid, like a memorial, like a graveyard. But what a spectacular graveyard, That'd be kind of crazy, wouldn't it? And then they thought maybe it was a place that people went to go to heal, and then some people died there. How can you speculate that? No one knew. But they did know that they might have had different purposes in different times, different phases they went through. And maybe, just maybe it was a moral memorial and they were trying to reach out to the heavens to find the true and living God. Maybe some of them did. If you seek the Lord with all your heart, you'll find him. So we can't really say what it was for. But they did find some other ancient structures in England and Wales. Avery stone rings were 3 circles. They were 28 acres, the largest stone circles in the world. The stones weren't as big, but they were huge stone circles that you could almost see, if you flew an airplane over it. And also they had Salisbury Hill, was a 131-foot chalk mound that was man-made. It's the tallest mound in Europe. Now they think that was another memorial stone, maybe for somebody that had died. And then in West Kennet, Long Barrow, was a long mound tomb. So when they found that tomb, they think possibly, this had to do with some kind of memorial stones, kind of like the pyramids in Egypt were. We don't know. Well, in 2014, researchers used magnetic meters and their radar to detect what's underground there. So in underground, they found 17 distinct additional structures near Stonehenge. So maybe it was a whole town. Maybe it was a place they all went, like a park. Who knows? But there are 17 other structures there. So we can't really say. But definitely something was going on there. And it would take a lot of people to build those things. And they used advanced architecture, way advanced than you'd think of a caveman or something like that. And they had planning and they had engineers way back then. And, it's pretty amazing. But maybe, just maybe, they did dedicate it to God. Who knows? I like to think so. When you think of these things, people like to make them into spooky things. But like I say, we could go over there and have a picnic, and we could pray, and we could even worship God, the living God. Not some pagan, weird idol, but the true and living God. So that's why we're gonna build a Stonehenge of our own out of Rice Krispie bars. Isn't that cool? Be fun.